Okay, pal,
how are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you very much.
And before we know it, we've arrived at the end of the series.
Yeah, which is, it's kind of bittersweet, isn't it? Because I've been really enjoying doing this.
12 hours of us waffling around.
Yeah, I didn't think anyone would be willing to listen to us for 12 hours. But there you go, everything endurance. This has been an exercise in endurance itself.
I suppose it has.
So congratulations to everyone who's managed to get through the entire season. There's no T-shirt, there's no medal, but, you know, we're very thankful.
But the good news is, there's already going to be a season 2.
Yay!
So that's already started to be recorded, guests are coming in, and that will happen, and it is probably just going to lead straight on from season 1. So there shouldn't be a break in our programme, there shouldn't be a gap. It should just go straight on.
Don't commit me to this, because you know I've got to go out and arrange the people and edit the podcast. Oh, great. That's my summer sorted. Thank you.
But what we'll do is we better start introducing our...
Yeah, I'm a little bit excited about this one.
Final guest of the series. So, who we got?
We have someone who's probably best known, I mean, aside from his facial hair, but we'll come back to that. It's likely to be a running theme throughout the episode. But probably best known for the world's first ever length of Britain triathlon.
Triathlon.
Triathlon. So, wow. You know, he, 2008, cycled the length of Britain, as you do. 2013, and this is a big one for me, he swam the length of Britain. This is 4.5 months at sea. So if you would set off now, when you got back, you'd be just about in time to start planning your Halloween costume. We're talking that kind of length of time.
Okay.
Yes, pretty bad, like barnacles and stuff. Like, I don't know what the build-up of those is like or how you scrape them off afterwards, but...
we'll probably find out.
Oh, yeah, we'll ask him. That's pretty impressive. 2015, he then completed the length of Britain triathlon by running the length of Britain. Although he doesn't describe himself as a runner, he does an alarming amount of running for someone who doesn't do much running. And then 2016, just kind of jammed it all together and did the entire coastline of mainland Britain as a triathlon. So there's a triathlon kind of theme about this.
That's a lot of miles in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. He doesn't mess around. Our guest to finish the season is Mr. Sean Conway.
Hey! Hi, Sean, you right?
Hello, chaps. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all.
I think that there's also an event that you missed out of there. If we went back through the years, there's also a climb of Kilimanjaro in a penguin suit, I believe.
I still claim that's probably one of my most difficult adventures, actually.
Well, that kind of that you've already answered our first question. So obviously, Sean, it's great to have you on the show. And I think the opening question for us is obviously going to be, come on then, out of all of the things that you've done, which one has been the hardest?
Well, I joke around about the Kilimanjaro thing, but actually that penguin suit was so uncomfortable and so hot at the bottom and then not nearly warm enough for the top that actually that was pretty difficult. But no, in all seriousness, it was the swim. Swimming the length of Britain was probably the hardest thing I've done. Saying that, the triathlon I did, the world's longest triathlon last year, that was also pretty hard. But I think I kind of was a bit more confident in that one because I'd done the others. So maybe even if it was harder, mentally I figured I could cope. But swimming the length of Britain, that was the one that everyone said was impossible. That's the one that actually I thought was probably also a bit punchy going for. And just everything about it. When no one's done something before, you have no one to ask for advice. So you're just winging it, man. Every day you wake up and you're just going I have no idea what's going on. Whereas if you want to cycle around the world, if you want to climb Everest or row an ocean, there's generally a couple of people you can ask for advice for. Whereas the swim, there was just no one. And also there was even less people willing to give their advice because they just thought they'd be wasting their time, really. I don't blame them,
I guess it's sort of difficult to get a sponsorship base built up if people think you're just going to die while you're doing it anyway. I mean, you don't necessarily want to attach your brand to that.
No, exactly. And, funding point of view and everything. And yeah, it was tough. It was tough. But, perseverance, determination, all that jazz. There's lots of motivational stuff on the internet. And, I hopefully have a tiny little slither of internet space hopefully motivates some people to go out and push their dreams.
Yeah, I think I actually first come across you, Sean, when you was training for, it was more preparing for the Length of Britain swim. So that's when I kind of first came across your page, and it kind of made me double take at the beginning, because I thought, what? Like that? No. And then when you was putting posts up of things like, I've not really done much swimming, this is my boat that I bought for this, I just thought, what is... I was more intrigued to see it. I don't think I ever thought that you couldn't do it, but there was like a boy inside of me was like, please, Sean, please do this. Please make sure you can finish this, because if you do, then I'm just going to go put my name to some ridiculous stuff too. And lo and behold, it was just an amazing thing to follow. So it's quite nice to actually get to finally speak to you.
Yeah, no, thanks for supporting me back then. I think that was your voice in my head as well, to be honest, mate. Like, come on, Sean, you can do this. You know what? You've got to prepare for stuff. You've got to do your due diligence for everything you do. Just to go blind into something and go, yeah, totally doable, and not prepare. You just chance of failing. Go much higher, whether it's injury or weather or things like that. And I did all my research and all my things, and nothing suggested the swim was going to be impossible. There weren't these big counter currents. There's no big sharks. The water's generally pretty clean. Risk of illness is pretty low. You've got the NHS, you've got Mountain Rescue, you've got RNLI, and thankfully I didn't need them. But in the UK, it's a pretty amazing place to go out and push yourself, because you have a backing. Other parts of the world, you would just you get insurances and you look into different types of backup plans should things go wrong. But the UK is a wonderful place, and with a history of exploration and adventure in the UK, it means we have these things in place. The right to roam and the freedom to go out and explore, I think, is inbuilt into British society, which is, I love it. I love it. Whenever I go traveling around the world, or anyone, and if you're doing something a little bit bonkers, I guarantee 80% of the time someone will go, "I'll bet you're British, mate." And and it's cool, because although I wasn't born in Britain, my family was from here, and then they moved to the colonies in Africa, and kind of done a full circle again. And I love it. I love that just gung-ho attitude to going and exploring. But you got to do your due diligence. You got to check and find out what the risks are. For the swim, there were risks. It was going to take a while, weather and tide and things. But for the most part, if you can deal with being cold, wet, miserable, hungry, and tired on a daily basis, as long as you go 1 meter ahead, you're making progress, and that's all that matters, really.
Do you think, because obviously you had quite an adventurous childhood growing up as well, and then you kind of lost your path for adventure when you kind of was working as a photographer, and then you kind of got it back in later life. Do you think that a lot of the British public have either lost this sense of adventure or never even experienced it in the first place?
Well, I mean, that's quite a generalization. I think it's different for everyone. I do think we, as just society in general, possibly don't spend as much time outdoors as we should. I think there's three really important elements to happiness and well-being in the world. One is nutrition, one is fitness, and one is spending time in the outdoors. And I don't want to make a generalization, but I think certainly there'd be a potential link, I think, between the amount of time we spend outdoors and our overall well-being. And maybe certain generations and certain social structures and various, things like the internet and games and whatever have maybe made some people spend more time indoors than outdoors, which is sad. But I think it's getting better. I think we're over that slump. I think more people now are choosing to spend their time and money doing cool stuff than buying things. You know, you look at the number of millennials, I think, whatever they're called nowadays, you know, going for their driver's licenses is down crazy amounts because, you know, kids are going, I don't want to spend 15 grand or 10 grand or 5 grand on a car. You know, they look at Al Humphreys and go, geez, he cycled around the world for 4 years on 7 grand. You know, why would I spend 7 grand on a car when actually I can take public transport and use that money to go up and climb a mountain or run a marathon or whatever? So I think it's getting better. I think we've over the slump. I think the world is getting better, everyone. Don't stress.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I think it's taking people like you and people like Al Humphreys and Dave Conway and you name just a few people like that to kind of normalize adventure as well. Like obviously you're doing these amazing things that some people might seem out of reach, but you know, looking at your challenge where you just kind of one year you decided to walk to London for New Year's, I remember as well. That to me is a classic example of then saying, look, everyone, any kind of adventure is possible for any kind of fitness level or any kind of budget.
Yeah, well, I mean, two things have happened. One, social media has given access to everyone the stories of what people are doing. People always did these things. People always did them. You know, exploring in Britain's been a thing for a long time. You know, you look way back, even, you know, a couple of 100 years ago, people were doing walks to London far more regularly than they're probably doing now. But there was no social media, so you never heard about it, right? So social media's come along, and it's made people go, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. You don't have to buy a newspaper or listen to the radio like you had to do back in the day to hear about these things. You can find out about them in, you know, five minutes online. That happened. Travel has become cheaper. You know, equipment has become cheaper. You know, you can now go and buy a jacket that's pretty waterproof for not very much money, and you can buy shoes that are pretty good, that'll last. There's also rubbish out there, don't get me wrong. So travel and adventure has become more affordable for the masses. Whereas if you look, you know, for the general part of adventure and exploration for the last couple of 100 years has, you know, dare I say it, been a certain corner of society, right? Whereas now it's more affordable and with social media. I wish I'd had people on Instagram to inspire me when I was a teenager, because I didn't have that, and then I just went and did the wrong thing for my entire 20s. So yeah, I think we're just finding more people have access to stories now online than they did before, and that's inspiring them, which is kind of cool. Because before that, you had to rely on your friends, your family, your social network, your actual network of friends around you. And if they weren't doing anything super inspiring, you just thought, oh, well, that's just what life is, you know?
And you talk about, I think that's absolutely true. I think we're around the same age generally, and I don't think that without social media, there wouldn't be people like you who you're able to look up to and go, hang on, you know, maybe I don't need to spend this money on the car. Maybe I don't need to worry about the mortgage yet and that sort of thing. Maybe there's an alternative lifestyle out there for me. But given you didn't necessarily have that, what was that switch when you got to around 30? What made you go, you know what, I've got this life and I've got security and everything's going okay, but I'm not happy? What made you make the switch? Because I don't think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people stay unhappy and plow on because that's what they've been taught to do.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think. I think the people who are really unhappy, like I was, you find, I think, do actually do something about it because it's not worth it. But there's a lot of people on sort of 2 or 3 rungs of happiness a bit above where I was maybe. And those are the people who maybe are struggling because they're not totally miserable, but they're not, they're just wafting through life. And that's kind of sad. That's a difficult one because you can't just go willy-nilly and, go into life self-centered and hedonistic and just go, oh, I'm just going to go and do this because I want to. Because actually that doesn't really give you true happiness. You still I still think you need to have a goal and a focus in life, no matter what it is. That kind of makes life exciting, especially when that goal or focus is a little bit kind of difficult or adventurous. But I'm not saying everyone should just quit their job and go traveling around the world. Some people like, working as a nurse or a doctor or an accountant. My accountant's amazing. He loves spreadsheets, and he sends me graphs and color coded, and then he's like, I don't feel like living in London. I'm going to go and live somewhere else in the world, and he can just do his job anywhere. It's brilliant. I was kind of jealous, actually. One day he's like, I'm moving to Cyprus. I'm like, wow, why not? I'm like, fair enough. Be an accountant anywhere, mate. So I was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. And you love graphs and numbers. That's awesome.
I bet his adventures are so organised.
We'll get him on for series 2.
But, I'm not going to judge. Do what you want to do, Do what you want to do, as long as what you want to do doesn't piss on someone else's fire. But certainly life is definitely too short to do something you hate, every single day. There are other ways to live on this planet. You got to be willing to sacrifice. When I got into this game, I moved back in with my mum for a couple of years. I then bought an old boat for £2,000 and lived on that for 3 years. So it's going to be sacrifices, but they're totally worth it if you're doing what you love to do.
Yeah, and I think you've got to have that little bit of, you've got to take risks as well, haven't you? Like you look at some of the things that you've done in the past, like this boat, for example. You kind of just bought that. That's a crazy story how you've bought boats in the past, isn't it? Really, as well.
Yeah, I know. I somehow land up buying old boats. Totally the wrong way, really. But mainly it's because they're cheap.
I mean, everyone has their thing that they have weaknesses for. I think Will's is running gear in general, socks and flasks.
Love a sock.
Yeah, mine's running shoes, and yours is archaic World War II boats and Land Rovers, I suppose.
Really old Land Rovers, yeah. I know.
I mean, it's a lot cooler than socks.
Yeah. So, out of all of the challenges that you've done, and I urge anyone that's kind of new to Sean to go onto his website and have a look at just the kind of impressive adventure CV that he's built up over the years. Which is the one that you took the most from personally? Which one was the grower? Which one did you finish and think, I have learned a lot from that? I am so glad I did it.
Well, I mean, it's a boring answer, but it's all of them, to be honest, because I don't do the adventure unless I feel I'm going to learn or push myself or anything. So every time you're pushing the bar up a little bit. But I guess the first thing I did after I packed in my life, my old life, as I call it, was I cycled around the world, and I tried to break the record for that. I landed up getting run over in America, so that the world record attempt had ended. But I kind of carried on anyway. And when I finished that, I think that was the realization that I was able to do a lot more with my time on this planet, I guess. That first one, I raised thousands of pounds for charity and raised awareness for people, getting outside and exploring and getting fit and healthy. And, that first one, that one set the ball rolling for the confidence I have now in my other abilities. So, I guess that one would be it, really.
And I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, you finished that round the world attempt with a compression fracture to your spine. Is that right?
Yeah. So I got run over in America, and I don't remember anything. I just woke up in hospital the next day. But someone had hit me from behind, and the bonnet of the car went into my back, and it compressed my vertebrae and the cartilage between them, and caused like a fracture in the cartilage, apparently. So that, it is what it is. It's going to come back and bite me one day later in life. But actually, there was no real kind of risk carrying on cycling. It was just very, very painful for quite a long time, and hasn't really healed even now. But, you know, there's no point in crying over spilt milk, you know.
Or indeed fractured spines. But I just think what's impressive there is to go from heading out and going, right, I'm going to break this round the world record, I'm going to do this. And then you have this sort of enormous setback. And not only did you still finish it, your next one was arguably the most dangerous one, the one that most people went, well, hang on, like, I'm not sure you can swim all this far. You talk about pushing the bar up a little bit each time. There must have been a temptation after the round the world attempt to go, maybe I need to reel my neck in a little bit.
Well, two things there, really. One is I carried on cycling around the world because I figured you only get one real chance to cycle around the world, and not many people get the opportunity to cycle around the world twice. And my sponsors were pretty keen. The charity were very supportive. My family were kind of supportive. They wanted me to come home. But in my mind, I thought, well, you only get run over once in life, and I've had my turn now, so I'm all good. So I carried on doing that. And then, you're right. When I got home, you know, the tendency would be, I failed at that really difficult thing. Maybe I should try something a little bit easier. But actually, that's exactly what I did in my old life. You know, when I didn't get the jobs I wanted to get in photography, I settled for an easier job, and then an easier one, and an easier one. And then all of a sudden, I was just an autopilot doing jobs I knew I could do, but paid well, that gave me no creativity or adventure or anything. And then 10 years later, you're so far down the easy track, it's impossible to jump onto the next track because you're not skilled enough anymore because you haven't been learning along the way. So that was my thought process. I thought, right, actually, I'm going to try something harder than cycling around the world fastest. And hopefully that'll give me the confidence that I needed because I had made the mistake. You know, I'd already done the easier stuff and succeeded. And it actually wasn't that rewarding going, oh, well, because then you know you're second. You're not as good as you were hoping you could be. Even if you succeed. You know, if you try and run a marathon, and let's say at mile 20 you get injured or you give up, and you go, oh, well, that's not for me, and you pull out the race. You know, if the next time comes around, you go, oh, I'm going to go for a half marathon. Guarantee, when you succeed in the half marathon, you'll be like, oh, that's amazing, but, you know, I still didn't make that marathon. Whereas if you went back and you went, right, I'm going to try and do a marathon again, but even faster than I was hoping, trust me, you'll step up your game and you'll do it, and then you'll feel way, way better for it.
You had a similar thing yourself, did you not, with the Length of Britain run? Was that was an experience where I think did you set off to do it the first time, and then that must have been tough, right? Yeah,
it is tough. Injury is tough in my game because I don't really consider myself an adventurer, even though I kind of say it because people understand what that means when I say it. But I'm more on the athletic side of adventure rather than the exploration. So if anything, I'm an endurance athlete in my world, in my mind anyway, because I like to do, you know, the 3 Fs, fastest, first, or furthest. So that gives me a kick, you know, that gives me a reason to get out of bed every day and gets me excited. And, you know, injury is always something that I have to manage. I'm 36 years old now, so although I'm feeling stronger, and my power data is better and everything, when I do get injured, it does take a little bit longer to recover. So, it's just part of the job, really.
But that was a thing where it was really inspiring again for me to see that, it didn't happen first time, but then you came back and did it again and smashed it. You did it to a point where you ended up running into another country because why not? You had more miles and you went to go see Pritch, didn't you?
Yeah, I ran 40 miles to have a pint with a Welshman in Wales, which that's got to be some record in itself.
Yeah, we're actually
40 miles to have a pint with a Welshman.
We're actually hoping to have him on Series 2.
You've got to get him on. He's training for some big stuff at the moment. So
so we've sent the message out through Smithy, a mutual friend of ours, and hopefully you'll come back and join us on Season 2.
I I think an important part of life is to have a goal where there's a certain element of uncertainty in it. If you're certain about everything, you need certainty in life. You know, you need to know that you can provide yourself with food, shelter, warmth, the 3 things you need to survive on this planet, and you need to be certain you're not going to get eaten by a tiger each night when you go to bed. You know, those sort of certainties are good for well-being. But then also, if you're certain about everything, then life gets freaking boring, man. You must be there. You know, if you need to add some element of uncertainty, and I believe if that's an outdoor activity or physical activity, your life will be so much better. The figures suggest, you know, the number of people signing up for Ironman. 20 years ago, if you did an Ironman, you were like the best physical human being on the planet.
Yeah. It's like a park run now, right?
Hundreds of thousands of people are doing Ironman every single year, you know, like, so because people are realizing, you know, by having that goal that when it's a little bit uncertain, steps up their game. And also, if you run a marathon, I would say almost everyone who decides to do a second marathon will want to do it quicker. That bit of uncertainty. I guarantee if someone who wants to go and run a marathon again, you know, obviously there's some people who want to raise it for charity maybe, or they have got injured and they just want to complete it. That's a different story. But for the most part, if completing a marathon is your main focus, most people you'll find will want to do it quicker, which is exactly what I said. That element of uncertainty, whether, you know, not knowing whether you can do it quicker, makes it exciting, you know?
Yeah, and I think with the help of social media as well, I think that touching on this Ironman thing, we had a conversation about this the other day, and it's very much a case of the Dunning-Kruger effect, I think it's called, is where you kind of have this knowledge, or you think you know everything about a certain subject, and then you find out something where you kind of have a different cognitive shift. You realize that you're not as miraculous and as good as you think you are, and then you all have this sudden realization, and it kind of puts the world in a different perspective. And I think a lot of people do this thing, and they kind of climb to the Iron Man and things like that, which is amazing. It's a fantastic thing to do. But then they stumble across someone that has done, like the Iron Cowboy, who's done all of these Ironmen, and they go, whoa, hang on a minute. And this sudden realization of like, wow, I can do so much more. And I think these epic challenges that you've set, I think you would probably have done that to a lot of other people. It's inspiring them that they've kind of gone out on their own swims and think, wow, these things are humanly possible. Look what I can go ahead and do now. I know that certainly happened with me. You know, you personally, this is even from my experience, you know, watching you do the length of Britain swim and things like that. I went and circumnavigated Britain not long after that, because I just thought, well, you know, if Sean can do that, you know, it's possible. I can go out and maybe have a crack at this myself. So I think I think this social media thing has its benefits in more than one way.
And it isn't just that it's inspirational. It's that it knocks out one of those pillars that reinforces the reasons why you don't do the thing. And this is coming from someone who, like, just over a year ago, I signed up for my first big challenge. I was like 90 kilos, a habitual beer drinker and kebab eater. And Kris had my arm up my back and got me to sign up for a 230 kilometer race through the Arctic Circle. And I did that in February, and it was looking at people like you, and I was reading everything I could find about Roald Amundsen. I wanted to know about the polar explorers, and social media brings you so much. And every time you think, well, I'm not going to make this, I can't do it, it isn't possible, you find someone who's done 10 times what you're planning to do. And it just knocks that pillar out from under you. You're like, damn, I'm going to have to do this.
But if we flip it on its head, Sean, that must have been terrifying, knowing that, you know, when you go for these records that are firsts, because you haven't got that support. You haven't got that. Surely that. Do you think they're the toughest ones, the firsts? Or
as long as it's not a pink helmet first, which is
we're going to need some context there, Sean.
phrase I heard recently.
We've got the iTunes censors to think about, you know.
I love it. This guy was like, he's sick of the pink helmet adventurers, which are people who go, I'm going to be the first person to climb Everest wearing a pink helmet.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to be the first person to row the Atlantic wearing a pink helmet. You know, there's a lot of those sort of people who, don't get me wrong, I think it's awesome. If that's your motivation, remember motivation is one of the 5 key elements of doing a challenge. If that's your motivation, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. I think if you're just adding it because you think it's going to get you publicity or you think it's, you know, XYZ, I think you'll be disappointed in the results when you get to the end. I think your motivation should be more personal and more meaningful and deeper and more honest with yourself than just trying to do something a little bit quirky because hopefully it might get some publicity. Maybe it will, and maybe it works. You know, I'm all for it, and I'll happily support anyone who wants to do anything wearing a pink helmet. I'll even come and join you for a bit. But I think if that's your main motivation, I think you'll be disappointed. I really do. And maybe I could be proven wrong, but I really think, you know, doing a first and finding out really what you want to get out of it and being honest with it. You know, is it the physical goal? Is it the raising money for charity? Is it pushing yourself? Is it getting fit, getting healthy, losing weight, whatever it is? Just find what that is and focus on that. Don't just try and do it first wearing a pink helmet because you think it's going to get you publicity. Because, you know, the publicity stuff, it makes you feel special for about 5 seconds. But actually, when you sat at home a week later and everyone's forgot about it, you kind of go, oh, I wish I'd actually focused on what I really wanted instead of all the facade of stuff. But yeah, the first are difficult because, you know, you don't have, but then also it's kind of fuel for the fire. It just depends on how you.
I suppose the reward at the end of it is so much more, you know.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Yeah, totally. But it's not for everyone. You know, it is not for everyone, the firsts, because, you know, it's time, financials, you know, there's loads of reasons why firsts are difficult. And that might not be for everyone because, you know, we all got different lives and different goals and different objectives. So, you know, whatever floats your boat, man, like, just go and bloody do it.
So, I'm trying to focus on, you know, the tasks at hand, well, the challenges that you've got ahead of you. Do you often find that people will struggle to understand your why? Do they think, you know, God, you're just crazy, I don't get it? Do you come across that much?
Yeah, I guess. It's kind of, I kind of shy away from that whole, like, oh, you must be mad, mate. It's kind of just, I don't know, I think it's a bit of a wishy-washy kind of.
Because you'll feel that this is normal. This is what this is normal, right?
My kind of normal, you know, because it's way madder sitting in an office doing something you hate. You know, getting diabetes and you know, heart risk. That's way madder, I think.
Also,
like some of the stuff I've gone for and do is a little bit bonkers and a little bit like outside what I think is possible in my own personal kind of like goals. But I don't know. I kind of, it feels normal to me because I've found what I'm good at. You know, no one says, "Oh, Paul Radcliffe, you're mad for, you know, smashing the marathon world record," which, you know, if I had to try and do that, people would call me mad, but no one calls her mad because they know that's she found what she's good at. And that's, I don't know. I just, is a weird one. I always kind of try and shy away from it.
There was a quote I came across the other day, which is, those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. And it reminded me of that thing because I know that a lot, we get to speak to some great adventurers and they often get called, mad, inspirational. People draw inspiration from it, but they just don't get it. And maybe it's a case of if they went on their own little adventures and things like that, they might just gain a little bit of understanding of why, people like you do what you do. And I thought it was a really nice quote to put onto someone if they was to call you mad or.
If people ever go, "Oh, Sean, you're mad," I go, "I'm 200 years too late to be mad, man." Shackleton, Scott, even Ranulph Fiennes, all those guys, they were mad. Like, I watched a great documentary called Shackleton's Captain, based around his failed crossing of Antarctica, where they all got stranded in the ice and blah blah blah. You should watch that. It's fine. Those were mad. These guys lived on the ice for nearly 2 years, awaiting rescue. 2 years living in the South Pole on a frozen bit of ice that's hopefully going to float north. That is mad. And then trying to row a little tiny rowing boat across the ocean to an island they hope is somewhere there, navigating off a sextant. That's mad. Me getting on my bicycle and trying to cycle a lot of miles, that's not really mad. It's just determined.
Well, this goes back to that Dunning-Kruger effect again. You've got that sense of reality. You look at people like that and think, well, God, that's crazy. And, hopefully when people find out about you and find out about these guys, and that's what I think the main aim of what we want to do with this podcast is speak to people like yourself that are promoting adventure and promoting this, this message to get outside, that they find all of these different people and just think, wow, so much is possible. So much is possible.
And the accusation that, oh, you must be crazy to do this. And, we've all have heard it. Like, going back to the marathon runners, when you tell people, oh, I'm going to run my first marathon, the reaction from 9 out of 10 people you speak to is, oh, you're nuts. Like, it's a defense mechanism. When you are in the mindset of, I can't do this thing, you start off with, I'm physically not capable of doing the thing. And then you look around on social media and realize that loads of people are doing it, and that gets knocked out from under you. And then you go, well, they must be crazy then. And it's reinforcing your own reason not to go out and do the thing. But as soon as you get started down that road, it's not. You're not crazy, and you are doing the thing. And the more people there are out there on social media saying, yes, you can do that thing, and normalizing that and hearing conversations like this, you realize Sean Conway isn't nuts. He has a great beard.
Very good beard.
It's a great beard. But you see, he's not crazy.
No, but I also think people saying, oh, you must be mad is a kind of form of endearment nowadays. I think people who are saying it probably think that the recipient wants to hear it anyway because they get a kick out of it.
Yeah, and they're genuinely interested in what you have to say a lot of the time. So.
I think most people now, the world, people aren't as stereotypical as they used to be. I generally think the world's getting in a better place. People are more accepting of people doing other stuff and not living a conventional life. It's not all doom and gloom. I think the world's getting better.
Yeah, that's so good to hear at the moment. That might be the first time I've heard that as a sentence in a long time.
Yeah, we'll just get all our news from Sean from now on.
Maybe it's because I live in a forest in Cumbria. My version of the world maybe is slightly different, but
well, we're gonna definitely stick with yours. Yours is better.
I'm just gonna replay that bit of audio over and over again every morning. I could have it as my alarm clock.
Don't listen to the news. It's as simple as that. Yeah. Well, look, Sean, we wish you all the best. If you want some more reading on Sean, all of his CVs on there. He's got a number of books out as well, which are great reads.
Will there be another one out by this point? Is the and then I went for a run? Not to rush you. You're a busy man.
End of the year, maybe. End of the year.
Okay, so something else to look forward to.
Keep your eyes on that book as well. But yeah, thanks for your time, Sean, and good luck, mate.
Nice one, chap. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Right.